of It's All Life podcast. Today I'm going to talk about something I've really never been able to talk about before, and that is anger. And I am doing it from a place of anger because for the last several days I've found myself getting angrier and angrier at myself. And this has been going on over a period of time, but I finally realized that the way I have dealt with anger my entire life has been backwards. It's been wrong. And so we're going to talk about how it affects your life. We're going to talk about how it affects your relationships. We're going to talk about how it affects your business or how it affects your ability to make money. Is what if one of the most powerful resources in your life that you are not properly using is the resource of the emotion of anger. Because when you think about strong emotion that just literally physiologically changes your body chemistry, right? What changes your body chemistry? More powerfully than almost any other emotion, and it's the emotion of anger. There are two emotions, maybe three, that supercharge your body with energy, okay? The two probably most powerful is anger and fear. Because fear, whenever there's actually something to be afraid of, in other words, you're about to get killed or eaten or destroyed if you don't act, that there is something threatening your life, fear will shoot cortisol, adrenaline, everything. It just floods your body with chemicals that literally give you physically strength. Guess what? So does anger. This is when you get really, really angry and you see somebody, they get really mad. There is just this surge of energy. Not only is not just the emotion, but the physicality of everything in you, just all the chemicals that get released into your brain, that get released into your body, into your molecules, into your cells, that just make you just feel like exploding. So there's the Incredible Hulk. So I would just want you to imagine the Incredible Hulk. The thing that made the Hulk incredible was he had to get angry. He was just a nice guy until there was something that happened that was wrong. And whenever something happened that was wrong and it was bad enough, and there was a bad enough injustice, so there was a bad enough threat, there was enough pain that he saw, that it just triggered this emotion of anger. Now, the Hulk had this superpower that came over him. Now, I don't know about you, when I get angry, really angry, which has happened very, very rarely in my entire life, anger was not really an emotion that I was allowed to feel or allowed to express. So I'm going to take you back a little bit because this is important for you, because I'm going to bet that almost every single one of you watching this have at least some similarity of dealing with anger the way I was taught to deal with anger. And so when I went through my first divorce, it happened, I will say the cause of the divorce, the trigger that made it happen for sure, was I had an affair. But having an affair was not the problem. Having an affair was a symptom of a problem. And that was my marriage was not going well. Things were not working right in my marriage. And instead of getting angry about what wasn't right in my marriage and saying, hey, we got to have a conversation. We got to deal with some shit. If we don't deal with it, things are going to go bad. I didn't know how to do that. Didn't know I could do that. Didn't even know that was an option. So what did I do? Suppressed. So when I had the affair and I filed for a divorce with my first wife, I just told her, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. Nothing you can do and all this kind of stuff. And I remember her sending me a message that said, I will not cooperate in this divorce unless you agree to go to a Christian psychologist and get assessed, get analyzed, get figured out what's wrong with you, because something's wrong with you. And I think I know what it is, because she did some research on the internet and she decided that I had a narcissistic personality disorder. I was a narcissist. I was going through a midlife crisis. I don't even know how old I was at the time, 30 something, mid 30s. And I was going through my midlife crisis. And so she just figured that if I went to a Christian psychologist, he could identify my narcissistic personality disorder and fix me. And so I'm like, she said, I will not cooperate with the divorce. I will fight it unless you agree to do that. And so me, at the time, this is how I lived my life, is like, okay, I will bow the knee and I will do whatever she says to make her happy so that I can do what I want to do. Which, looking back, was a mistake then, but it is the way I dealt with stuff. And it wasn't a mistake for me to go to a Christian psychologist. It was a mistake for me to bow to a demand of somebody else that was just where we had had so much problems that I had not dealt with that this just compounded. Okay? So here's what I want to hear from you first in the comments. Do you feel like anger is something you've had a problem with? Either can't control it or can't express it, or you suppress it. You just like, I don't know what to do with anger. You just get angry and then you just stuff it inside and it makes your stomach burn. It gives you ulcers and it just like, and I don't know how to deal with it. Or you lose your temper and then you go do something you regret. So if you've felt that, just type in the chat, yeah, anger gets me, or I don't get angry. I just want to hear from you. What is your situation, or what has been your story with anger? Because what I'm speaking from today is my story of anger and my path of enlightenment, of understanding. And I'm not saying I understand it perfectly right now, but I am going to tell you I've discovered some things, and I'm going to talk from Scripture, because a lot of my beliefs about anger were based on the Bible, and it was based on misunderstanding what the Word of God actually said, what Jesus actually said, or the Bible actually said. I didn't really understand what it meant, and the way I was taught it or the way I internalized it really, really messed me up. So I agreed to go to see the Christian psychologist. I'm like, okay, I'll go see the Christian psychologist. Can't remember his name, but he was really good. He was actually very good. I don't know how I found him. I don't remember, but I went and saw him, and he gave me this big test that I had to take, this long assessment. I had to answer, 150 questions about everything, and I don't know how many questions it was, but it was a lot of questions. It was a long assessment. And then I had to submit it, and then he would evaluate it, and then I'd go back and meet with him again, which I did. And I remember going back to meet with him, and I come into his office, and I sit down there, and he sits down in his big comfortable psychologist chair, and he just sits there for a minute and just looks at me. I think he probably asked how you doing and greeted me, and then he just sat me at his first, sat there for a second looking at me, and he had the test results there in his lap. And he just looked at me for a minute, and then he pointed at my feet. And he said, your left shoe has more anger in it than you do. I'm like, excuse me? What? What does my feet, what does my shoes have to do with anything that's going on in my world right now? What is it? What's wrong with me? Can you fix me? What is it? Because you're not going to convince me to go back to a bad marriage. You're not going to convince me to leave the girl I'm in love with, that I'd had the affair with. I'm still living in this world of bullshit. I'm still living in this world of lies. And he says, your left shoe has more anger in it than you do. And I'm like, what in the world does that even mean? And I remember just sitting there, and I'm in total like, what? And he said, and I can remember this like it was yesterday. This was 23 years ago. And he says, you do not even allow the emotion of anger to show up in your life. And he said, you have so suppressed anger that you do not even know how to feel it anymore. He said, the problem is when you suppress anger, it does not go away. When you suppress it, you just suppress it, but it stays there. And the problem with suppressing emotions, you suppress an emotion long enough, and it's going to leak. It's going to leak out somewhere in your life. And when it leaks out, it's very corrosive, and it tends to destroy everything. Whew. Okay. And so literally, he's like, here's how it you suppressed anger. You were not allowed to feel anger. And he's like, I get it. You weren't allowed to feel it. We had conversation about it. And I still didn't get it. All I knew was I didn't. And I'm like, I just don't feel anger. I don't feel it. I don't feel it. I don't feel angry. I'm good. When I get mad, I get over it. Like, right? This is the way you live your life. You get angry, get over it. Because the Bible says, don't let the sun go down on your anger. So I don't let the sun go down on my anger. Before I go to bed at night, whoever I got something against, I let it go. I get over it. I'm good. No. That's not the way it works. So if you, like me, were taught, do not let the sun go down in your anger, and that meant you got to get over your anger before you go to bed, or you got to get over your anger and let it go. Let your anger go. Just let it go. Turn the other cheek. Be the nice person. Be the better person. You take the high road, not the low road, and you just let it go. Everything's going to work out fine. If that's the way you were taught, or that's the way you believed or believe right now, you're like, I just get mad, and then I just have to hold it, and I count to 10. I count to 10, and then I just have to release the anger. Okay? If your strategy through life has basically been to release the anger, just type in the chat, release the anger. Just type it in the chat, or just type in something so I can know. I just want to know who's watching this and hearing this that was this way. Because here's what I'm going to talk about today, is we're going to talk about how to take weaker emotions. And when I say weaker, what I mean by that is they're emotions that tend to not be as volatile. Anger is a very volatile emotion, right? It's very volatile. And so what if you upgraded fear or anxiety or worry or complacency or procrastination, creative avoidance, whatever? What if you upgraded that into anger? What if you learned, instead of suppressing your anger or ignoring your anger, denying your anger or avoiding anger, what if you embraced anger? You bring it in. Yeah, relax, release, relate. Oh, beautiful. I love this. It's so beautiful. Just look at the other person and just go like, I'm going to relax, and then I'm going to release the anger. Okay, I'm not angry anymore. And then I'm looking at, well, after all, they had this happen to them, or they had that to happen to them. And I'm going to tell you right now, my friend, that is the biggest mistake you're making in your life right now. That is not the way you deal with anger. Now, to get there, you gotta understand the reason that you're acting that way. One is that's what we were taught, because we were taught control your anger. Now it's crazy, because in our culture today we're taught, like, you need to get in touch with your feelings. Get in touch with your feelings, and if you need to just be honest with your feelings and let your feelings, you just do what you feel like doing. I mean, basically, we're in a culture today where they like, let your feelings. You got to, instead of controlling your feelings or directing your feelings in an appropriate way, and when you're angry, do something about your anger. Do something with it. Not the anger is not the problem. See, here was the reality. This whole time, anger was not my problem. I thought anger was the problem. Anger was the enemy. So anger comes in. You got to be stronger. If you get angry, it's because you're weak. That's what I believed. If you get angry, it's because you're weak. And so if you have the power to suppress your anger and deal with your anger and let it go, that, my friend, is a sign of righteousness and holiness and spiritual maturity and strength. Let your anger go. And there was always the incongruity of it, as I would look at scripture, and I would look at times in the Bible when some of the prophets and some of God's chosen leaders, including Jesus Christ himself, would just get absolutely livid and angry, and they would tear shit apart. Look at him. Can you believe Jesus actually went into the sanctuary? He went into the holy place, and he just wrecked the place. He literally was going table to table in all the booths at the swap meet. He was literally going table to table and just throwing everything everywhere. Are you kidding me? Call the cops. Get this guy out of here. He's a lunatic. Oh yeah, that was actually Jesus. I guess he had a weak moment. No, he didn't have a weak moment. He had a strong moment. He had a moment when he saw something that was not right, and he got angry about it. And he did not suppress it, and he did not let it go. He took that anger and he ripped everything apart. And he confronted all the bullshit religious artists that were in there taking advantage of people, and they had found a way to take God's temple, God's sanctuary, a place of holiness and spirituality and worship and reverence, and turn it into a money-making machine for their own personal gain, not to help people, not to serve people, not to make the world a better place. They were just taking advantage of people, taking advantage of a situation, and they were exploiting people for their own personal benefit. And he says, that, my friend, is not okay. He didn't go like, okay, feel anger, Relax. Relax. God, help me relax. Help me relax. Release. Okay. I'm over it. Okay. And I'm going to relate. Well, they're just trying to feed their family. They're just trying to make money. No! No! That was not what they were doing. They were taking advantage of people as inappropriate, and you got to do something about it. And somebody needed to do something about it. And nobody would stand up to the people that were taking advantage of people. Nobody would stand up to them. You see stuff going on in our world today? You see stuff going on in our world today that isn't right? And people are taking advantage of other people. People are attacking and assaulting other people. People are doing stuff. And everybody just stands around. They go like, oh no, something's happened. Let me grab my phone and let me get a video of this. And I'm going to put it on Instagram. Maybe it'll go viral. While the world is falling apart. And there is injustice and there is evil and there's bullshit going on everywhere. And we just stand aside and look at it. And inside of us, there's just like, that's not right. And anger wants to come up. But we're like, no, I'm good. I'm going to relax. I'm going to release. I'm going to relate. And that, my friends, is total bullshit. So, Scripture says in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26, if you're not a Christian, it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but I'm not here to try to convert you. I'm just here. This is the truth. Whether if you believe in Scripture or not, doesn't matter. What matters is it's true. This is true. You know, well, I don't believe in God. Okay, you don't have to believe in God. It's still what I'm going to say is still true. So, what the Word of God says is, be angry and don't sin. Be angry and do not sin. Now, what does it say? Be angry. Yes, come on. It's okay. If you're angry, be angry. Embrace it. Own it. Listen to it. Think about it. Now, control it, yes. This is why self-control is important, because you take a little kid, and when something happens they don't like, what do? They scream, they throw a temper tantrum. They haven't learned to control their emotion. They've got all of a sudden all this anger power, this anger energy comes into their little body. Then they're like, oh, what do I do? And they start screaming and stomping, and they'll lay on the floor and they'll throw a fit, right? They haven't learned discipline. They haven't learned self-control. So I'm not talking about getting angry and losing control. That's stupid. That's no discipline. That's nothing. I'm talking about when you have the anger, embrace it and go like, okay, God, thank you for giving me this massive superpower right now, because I'm going to tell you right now, anger is a superpower. The emotion of anger is a superpower. When I teach about the 7 domains of life, one of the 7 domains of your life, besides your finance, besides your family, besides your fitness, is your feelings. Nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about feelings. And when was the last time you actually trained on emotional control? Like, not how to shut emotions down, but how do you take a strong emotion and you take that and you use it to go to war? See, anger is a war emotion. Anger is a war emotion. You want to win, but you don't want to fight. And for you to go to war against an enemy, you got to get angry. You got to have this like sense of absolute anger and rage that comes into you, because that energy is what you can then transfer and direct into the attack. Now, I'm not talking about going out and trying to hurt people that you're mad at. What I'm saying is, I'm going to get to like, what do I do with all this energy and all this anger? Well, the first thing is stop suppressing it and stop trying to let it go. Okay? Stop suppressing it and stop trying to let it go and go like, oh, maybe this anger is a good thing right now. Maybe this anger is telling me something. Maybe this anger has a message and it has a mission. So anger, when it comes into your life, has a mission and a message. What's the message? So let me go back in my marriage, my first marriage. My first marriage was destroyed. My first marriage was destroyed because things weren't working right in my marriage. And guess what? I would get upset about something. I wouldn't say anything about it. I just get upset. I don't remember getting upset. I never remember getting upset. I'm going to tell you something. My dad died 2 years ago this month. Died 2 years ago, week before last. My dad lived to 83, just turned 83 years old when he passed. In 83 years, I didn't know him all 83. So I guess in all my 50 whatever years that I knew him, I never a single time saw my dad get angry, ever. Ever. Never saw him get angry. Ever. I never heard him raise his voice. I never heard him stomp or scream or hit or just even like speak in anger. And I'm not talking about rage. I'm not talking about losing temper. I never saw him get angry. Ever. That emotion If you could, if I could identify every moment in my dad's life that I was with him or saw him or observing him, there was never a moment that I go like, oh, Dad's mad. Never, not a single time. And I just thought that was the way it goes. I'm like, Dad, this is the way you're supposed to be. Dad's got great self-control, so when he doesn't get angry, he just lets you go. He controls his anger. That's what I do. Relax, release, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go, control it. It's okay. Love instead of get mad. Bullshit. When your values and your conscience, when the rules in your life get violated or something isn't working right, and it tells you, if you don't fix this, something's going to go wrong. This is a problem and you got to fix it. There is injustice going on right now. It may be injustice at yourself. It may be something that you need that's not happening. It's just like a baby cries and stomps when they don't get what they want, when they don't get what they need. Now, there can be sadness, crying out of desperation. There can be anger. It can be a whole lot of different things. But anger is one that says, okay, my rules have been violated. My values have been violated. My conscience says, this ain't right. You need to do something about it. That's what anger is. Okay, it is a message, it is a wake-up call, it is an alarm that goes off, and it gives you a lot of energy and says, okay, not only is something wrong here, but you need to do something about it. And that's what makes you feel angry. You watch the news, you get angry. And then what do? You shake your head, go on with your life, and don't do shit. Because what can you do? After all, you're powerless. No, you're not. You're not powerless. Guys, you're not powerless. The problem with Christianity today, and I'm a Christian, the problem with Christianity today is Christians are freaking weak. I mean, we won't stand up for anything. We don't stand up for anything. We'll stand up to anything. And except maybe when we're in church, when we're in worship, we got all the people around us that for the most part agree with us, then we can rant and rave about the problems in the world. But then when we get out of the world, what are we going to do about it? Nothing. We don't do shit. That is not religion, my friends. That is not spirituality. That is not Christianity. Okay, I don't know what it is, but it's bullshit. The anger says something isn't right. You got to do something about it. So I'm in my marriage. There were things that were not right in my marriage. So one is there were things that my wife did that were not appropriate. There were some things she would do with my daughters that she'd get in this emotional contest with them, and it's like she would tell them to do something. If they didn't do it immediately, she would just like rise up and just like stand there and threaten them. It was like a battle of the wills. You don't think I'm serious? You don't think I was saying I'm telling you right now, you think I'm, do you not respect me? Do you not respect me? Do you not respect me? You better respect. And she's just like challenging them. And I'm like, you are taking Haley, my oldest daughter, and it was starting to show up that my oldest daughter was wanting to get upset because her mom would be just like emotionally controlling. And she wasn't trying to hurt her. My wife was not trying to be abusive. She was not trying to be a bad mom. She just didn't know how to deal with her emotions. And so she would just have this, it was like this battle of the will that's going on. And I started seeing things in my daughters, she got into her early teens. I'm like, this isn't right. And I felt it. And guess what? I wouldn't say anything about it. Wouldn't say anything about it. Why? Because I did not want confrontation. And so I would take the anger and like, that's all right. I'm just not going to say anything about it. I'm just going to encourage my daughter, and I'm going to let my wife be what she's going to be and not say anything about it. Okay? So that was a piece of it. And that was happening. It started affecting my daughter. To this day, my daughter has no idea that affected her. Guarantee you. Okay? And to this day, I guarantee you that my ex-wife has no clue what she was doing. It was the way, by the way, that was exactly the way her mom was. Okay? There was another thing. My wife started gaining weight. Gained a lot of weight. I didn't like it. Now, I wouldn't say anything about it. And there were times I was like, why are you doing this? And I wanted to get upset about it, but then if I got upset, that meant I had to confront it. So I just like, that's all right. Love her anyway. Tell her it's okay. Tell her you understand. Problem was, I wasn't attracted to her anymore. Okay, there were things in our intimacy, in our sexual life that was just like not right, and so I would get upset, but I wouldn't get upset because I wouldn't like to get upset. Upset's not a good thing, so I didn't ever feel anger or upset about it. I just suppressed all that, and I'd be like, okay, well, after all, I just had to figure out myself, and I did. Started having an affair. And instead of dealing with things that weren't working in my marriage and the things in our intimate life and our relationship that weren't working, instead of dealing with them, and sometimes probably need to get upset and say, look, here's what you need to know, babe. If we don't fix this, the day's going to come, I'm going to cheat. Because I need this. I need intimacy. I need sexual release or whatever it is. I need it and I'm not getting it. And I'm not attracted to you. I'm not turned on to you because I married you because you were a chick and you turned into a big fat hen. I know this is probably very uncomfortable for some of you to be hearing this, but you need to hear this because this is what I needed to hear. Is if I had somebody that could get in my face and say, look, you're going to burn your life to the ground if you don't deal with this. And there are some things going on in your life that you're not happy with and they're not working right. And you need to get upset about it and go do something about it. But I didn't. I suppressed it. And then what I do? And this is what his name is on the tip of my tongue, the psychologist that I went to. And he said, here's what happened with all that anger that you suppressed towards your wife and all the unhappiness that you suppressed to your wife. Here's how it leaked. You went and had an affair. You weren't trying to retaliate against your wife, but that's how the emotion of anger released. What? Didn't make it. It did not make any sense to me at the time. I'm like, no, this is the one. This girl's the one for me. I'm in love with her. What are you talking about? Didn't make any sense at all. And then I realized this, and so this has started happening. And so I realized this started happening for me over the last few weeks. I have been making major pivots in my life. Last week I talked about why I'm getting my third divorce. Not ever what I wanted, not what I wanted to have happen, but I've made some big pivots. I've moved to the mountains of New Mexico. I still have my headquarters in Redondo Beach, so I go back and forth. But there were things I wanted to do and I'd never done, but so I'm like, I'm going to do them. But there's also a lot of pivots going on. I'm going through divorce. That's horrible. I hate it. I don't like it, but I'm there. And there were things that I was not getting done that I needed to get done, and I knew it. And I would just let myself off the hook. And I was just like, I would wake up and I'd be like, what are you doing? You're resting. You're taking it easy. You're going like, I'm tired. I'm stressed. So I just need to chill for the night or chill for whatever, all this kind. And I was literally not being responsible for some things I needed to be getting done. And I wasn't getting them done. And I was using an excuse that I'm stressed out and there's all this transition and change going on. And maybe I just need some time in the mountains and some solitude to just take it easy and relax and all that, which is true and which is fine. But I was allowing that to become an excuse. So I just woke up in the morning and I'd be like, I'd just be angry at myself. And I'm like, what? You didn't do what you said you were going to do yesterday. What were you thinking? I was tired. I was stressed. So I decided just to chill and watch a little YouTube or watch a movie or, go sit out by my fire pit and not do anything. Nothing wrong with fire pit. Nothing wrong with chilling. But I wasn't being responsible, and I got mad about it. I'd get mad at myself. And then, so my old self would just be like, that's all right, come on, it's a new day, come on, Ward, get up, let's get going. And this time the anger just kept coming back, and it kept coming back, and it would just, and finally I realized, you know what, maybe this anger is making me want to do something. So what if, instead of letting the anger go and suppressing it and saying, it's all right, and just let myself off the hook, what if I just looked at myself in the mirror and said, what are you thinking, you idiot? Get off your ass and get your work done. Do what you said you were going to do. Keep your word. You said you were going to do this yesterday and you didn't finish because you were tired. You weren't tired. You felt a little tired, but you weren't done. You could have worked. You could have pushed yourself harder. You could have got more done and you could have done it. And so I decided, here's what I decided. I'm like, I'm not going to let the anger go. I am going to use the anger and I'm going to channel this anger to get my ass in gear. And that's what I've done. And it's been like, whoa. A new man. And then I'm thinking, so as I'm doing it, there's still this incongruity going in me, like, don't let the sun go down when you're angry. And I'm like, I'm angry and I'm angry at myself and I want to quit. And I'm like, all of a sudden I'm scrolling on social media or I'm watching some YouTube videos or I'm just now mindlessly in distraction rather than doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that happens and I'm like, you idiot, get your work done. And so I was taking the anger that I was feeling toward myself and I was like, okay, don't let the anger go. Use that anger. Get your butt back in gear and get your stuff done. And then I'm like, oh, but don't let the sun go down with your anger. Let your anger go and all this. And I was like, wait a second. When the Bible said, when God said, do not let the sun go down on your anger. Here's what I realized. And this is probably the most important piece of all this. Anger is not the problem. I always looked at anger as the problem. So I'm going to invite you guys to type this in the chat. Anger is not the problem. Anger is the solution. Type it in the chat. Somebody type it in the chat for me. Anger is not the problem. Anger is the solution. Whew. What? You got to be kidding me. Anger's bad. Anger's a bad emotion. It's a negative emotion. You should not feel anger. You should learn to get over it and all that. And I'm like, wait a second. Jesus didn't do that. When Jesus got angry, got angry, he came unglued. He came unplugged. He attacked people. He called them names. He offended them. He called them hypocrites. He called them snakes. These are things, by the way, back in the day that were not considered okay. In religious circles and all that, this was like, can you believe? And he's talking to the religious leaders that way. How disrespectful can you be? We got to deal with this guy. Jesus took anger and he used it as the solution. It was the solution. It was not a problem. Anger was not a problem for Jesus. Anger was a tool for Jesus. And I want to suggest to you that anger is not your problem. Anger is your solution. Anger is the energy to say, get off your butt and do something about it. Something's not right, and you're the one right here in this place that God has put in this place in this moment to see this injustice, to see what's not right, and do something about it. And you got all this anger, and God says, I am going to supercharge your body right now with extra strength, extra energy, extra alertness to do something about it. So here's what I realized. When the Bible says, do not let the sun go down on your anger, what he was saying was, and all around it, it's like, so the verse before it says, stop lying. Tell yourself the truth, which is what I would do. I would lie to myself and go like, I'm angry. Okay, it's okay. No, it wasn't okay. You're lying to yourself. Stop lying and start telling yourself the truth. I'm angry. Anger's my problem. No, the problem is you're lying because you're angry at someone because they've done something wrong to you or something to somebody else, and you need to fix it and you need to address it. But instead of speaking the truth of what's happening and what you're feeling, instead of speaking the truth about it, you lie. You lie by saying nothing. You lie by saying, no, it's okay. It's all right. No, it's all right. It's okay. I'll be fine. I'll get over it. And it's bullshit. That's what it's actually saying. And it says, be angry and don't sin. So you got to control the anger. You got to direct the anger, but that doesn't mean suppress it. So Jesus went into the temple and he threw all the money changers, he went literally into all the booths and he just started tearing them apart. Violent. This was violent. Was he sinning? No. He was fixing a problem. He was addressing a problem. And he says, get out of here. This is a house of prayer. It's not a house of profit. It's not a place for you to come to make money. That's not the purpose of this. Get your head right and get the hell out of here. And I pissed people off. But see, we don't want to piss people off because we're like, yeah, but what if, and we're worried about being judged or criticized or being attacked back. My friend, sometimes doing the right thing means doing something it's not going to be popular. Sometimes standing up to stupidity that's happening in our civilization, our society, and our culture right now. You got to stand up to the stupidity and the immorality and the shit that is happening that's absolutely crazy. And you got to stand up for your children. You got to stand up to schools. You got to stand up to the pop culture. You got to stand up to all that shit. So what I realized was, do not let the sun go down in your anger was not saying, get rid of your anger before you go to bed. What it was saying is, before you go to bed, that thing that made you angry, do something about it. Anger's not your problem. The thing that's wrong, that's the problem. Use your anger to fix the problem, but do it today. Do it now. Do not go like, oh, I know, but who am I? Who am I to really do anything or say anything? You see the problem with going on with your children, and you see your children, they're getting taught bullshit. They're getting taught things that are like, and instead of, inside you're like, ugh, I can't believe it. I can't believe the schools are teaching. And so what you do is at night, you talk to your spouse about it, and you're like, can you believe they're doing that? I know. I'm just I just don't know what to do, and I'm just so angry, and I'm so mad at it. It's okay, honey. Just calm down, and it's gonna be okay. We just let them continue to program our children and confuse the hell out of them and make them question their identity and themselves and who they are, and if they're a boy or a girl, or if that's right, or if they were the way God made them was actually the way God was supposed to make them, or whatever. That if we really, and you're gonna say nothing about it. You're just gonna I'm gonna let the sun go down on I'm just gonna let the anger go before I go to bed. Now, how about this? Why don't you go have a conversation about the stupidity before you go to bed? How about you confront what's wrong in your marriage? Why don't you confront what's wrong in your business? Why don't you confront what's wrong in yourself? And you get angry at yourself. We all get angry at ourselves at times. Well, anger at yourself, anger is not your problem. It's the thing that made you angry. That's the problem. And if you want to fix it, getting rid of your anger is not the solution. You guys understand what I'm saying? Getting rid of anger is never the solution. Using the anger to get rid of the problem, to address the problem, to attack the problem and fix it, that's the solution. So there was this other piece to it. I was taught to turn the other cheek. Turn the other cheek, turn the other cheek, turn the other cheek, turn the other cheek. And the way I was taught that, because I got bullied by a kid named Buddy my first day of third grade. He came up, said, "Hey, want to fight?" And I'm like, "No." He goes like, "Well, I do." And he jumps me and starts beating me up. And so I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle that. I'm like, I didn't want to fight. I never saw anybody that wanted to fight. And so I just, like, as soon as I could, he had me in a headlock, broke my glasses, that brand new pair of glasses, first day of third grade, he broke them and all that. And I run away, and I finally got away from it. And I just ran away. And my mom told me, she said that night at home, when I'm just sitting there sobbing, I'm just bawling my eyes out because I'm devastated and I just didn't know what to do. And she said, "Bub, you did the right thing to not fight back. You just turn the other cheek, and kids like Buddy will leave you alone." And so what came out of that for me was, when somebody attacks you, you don't fight back. You don't stand up for yourself. You run away, which is not what Jesus meant when he said, when somebody strikes you, turn the other cheek. What he was saying is, you don't win in your life by always trying to get revenge. Revenge is not the solution to that, okay? But what he didn't mean was, when somebody attacks you, that you're just supposed to run away. It's totally appropriate for you to stand up for yourself, just like he did. He stood up for him. He knew there was a time to turn the cheek, and I knew there was a time not to turn the cheek. But when I was taught that, never stand up for yourself. And so what do? Anger's not going to help you, because if you get angry, somebody attacks you or attacks somebody else, or you see injustice going on, you can't be the Incredible Hulk. We loved watching the Incredible Hulk because he could take his anger, and his anger took over, and he fixed things. Now, he broke a lot of shit fixing it, but at the end, it was always like at the end, everything was better because the Hulk took care of what was wrong. And so that was fun to watch. We could fantasize about, man, I wish I could be the Hulk. But you can't be the Hulk because you got to turn the other cheek. You can't be the Hulk because you got to let go of your anger. You can't get angry because if you get angry, you might lose control. So what's got to happen is you got to learn how to control that anger and direct that anger, not get rid of the anger. The anger is not the problem. The anger is the solution. So you take that anger and go like, what can I do about this? Now, this doesn't make it easy, because you look at the injustice, you look at something that's happened, you look at what your kids are being taught in school, and you're like, I can't believe they are teaching that in school. I can't believe they are allowing our children to be taught that. And you're upset about it, but you don't know what to do about it. I'm not saying immediately you're going to know what to do about it. And I'm not saying you should immediately. This is like, you got to control it. You got to direct it. You got to have self-control and self-discipline and make sure that you channel it in a right way. But the wrong way is to suppress it and ignore the problem. And that's what way too many of us are doing in our entire lives. We're doing it with ourselves. We're doing it in all the areas of our life. We look at ourselves in the mirror and we get upset at ourselves. We're like, I'm not working out. I'm not exercising. And then you go like, yeah, I'm going to just get over it. It's all right. It's okay. And we console ourselves, and it's total bullshit. And so we continue to get more and more unhealthy. Or we look at our bank account because we're not working. We're not doing the work we need to be doing. So we're stressed about money, and we're living in scarcity, and we get upset about it. We're like, I can't believe it. I got to just work harder. And then we get upset about it, and then we just let ourselves off the hook. And instead of channeling that anger to push ourselves forward, we think anger's the problem. Now, here's this. Don't let the sun go down while you're angry. Are you angry because you weren't productive today? Then the solution is not to say, it's okay. I'm going to let the anger go before I go to bed, and I'll start tomorrow. No. How about this? Use the anger to get yourself into gear and go back to the office and do what you should have done, and then go to bed. Don't let the sun go down while you're angry. Fix what made you angry, and then go to bed. You do not go to bed when something is wrong and say, I know I'm upset about it, but it'll be okay, so I'm gonna let the anger go and I'm not gonna deal with it. And that, my friends, is the biggest mistake. This is why many of you, if not most of you, this is why you find yourself losing in life and you find yourself losing ground and things are changing in your world that are not gonna go in a good direction. And this applies to all areas of our life. What if you upgraded your anger and said, and owned it and embraced it, and just, if it's angry at yourself because you know to get off your butt and go to work and do something, channel that anger. Use that anger. Get mad at yourself. Okay? If you're like, how do I control it? How do I handle it? So I do a thing every day called stacking, which is a journaling. It's kind of like a guided journaling where I take, and I'm writing down my feelings, and I'm like, what am I thinking? Why am I upset at myself? Right? Why am I angry? Why is this not working right? And when anger is the conversation I need to have with myself. I'm angry at myself, or I'm angry at somebody else, or I'm angry at one of my team members because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Like, I got to write. So here's how I'm feeling. What happened? How do I feel about what happened? What could I do to fix the problem? And so I do it through journaling every morning. Is like, and I do this process. It's called stacking, and a thing I learned from my coach Garrett J. White, and it helps me to process this anger. And this was where it finally occurred to me that my anger was actually a tool to be used. It was an energy source. It was just like this superpower that was coming over me, that I was taking the superpower and like, oh, I feel this superpower coming on me. Oh, but this superpower is going to take me out of control. So give me some kryptonite and make me weak again. And just let the anger go, and I suppress the anger. And instead of using that to go and do justice in the world, to fix things and make my life better and make the world a better place, I was just suppressing it. Stop wasting your superpower of anger. Okay, anger is probably, if not it's one of the most powerful unused resources that you have access to in your life. But if you don't stand for anything, if you're not committed to anything, then there's nothing to get angry about. Until you get clear about what's not right. And if I don't deal with this, guys, this is a war. There is a battle between good and evil. There's a battle between winning and losing. If you're in your business and you're not being productive every day because you're allowing fear to stop you, you need to get angry at that fear and turn that fear into anger. Like, I know, but I'm just like, I'm afraid. What if they say this? What if they ask this? What if this happens? What if this happens? And you're taking the fear that you're feeling and you're bowing your knee to the fear, and you're losing. This is a business conversation now. You're taking your fear and you're feeling and say, oh yeah, but what if? Fear of rejection. Fear of rejection is total bullshit. Okay, it just is. Fear of rejection, fear of getting rejected is kind of like a baseball player having fear of getting a strike. How many successful baseball players walk up to the plate and they're afraid of getting a strike? They don't even think about getting a strike. Are they going to get some strikes? Yes, they're going to get some strikes. Are you going to get rejected? Yes, you're going to get rejected. But why would you think about getting rejected? You're worried about getting rejected. That baseball player does not think about how do I avoid a strike. They think about how do I get a hit. And they know one thing for sure. You don't swing the bat, you're never going to get a hit. You do not win games not swinging the bat. You do not win the game by avoiding strikes. You win the game by getting hits. Same thing in business. You're worried about getting rejected, and so you're afraid and you bow the knee to the fear, and that fear, you need to look at yourself and go, what are you thinking? You want to lose? You want to be a loser? Don't swing the bat, guaranteed. If you don't get a hit, okay, you don't get hits, you don't get runs, guess what? You lose. So you don't swing the bat, you don't get hits. You don't get hits, you don't get runs. You don't get runs, you don't win. That makes you a loser. And you're trying to avoid getting strikes, which guarantees you're going to lose. So you're afraid of strikes, you're afraid of rejection, you're afraid because what you do is, instead of understanding that getting a strike is just going to happen because the opponent is trying to throw a pitch you can't hit. So what do you got to do? You got to train, get better. But you also got to look at rejection and go like, wait a second, a rejection is not a judgment on me as a person. When a baseball player doesn't get a strike, they don't shake their head and go like, oh no, maybe I'm a loser. Maybe I suck at baseball. Maybe baseball's not the sport for me. Maybe this bat doesn't work. Maybe I should just throw the bat away. They don't go back to, even when they strike out, they don't go back to the dugout questioning swinging the bat. They don't question going up to bat. They don't go like, maybe I shouldn't just go up to bat. Maybe I should just like not go to the bat. I don't even go up to the plate anymore. Which is how a lot of, so you take your fear of rejection and you let it control you. And if you're going to let that happen, you're going to lose. So here's what you got to do. Look at that and go like, you want that? You want to lose? You like it? You want to lose? You want to just be a loser? No, I don't want to be a loser. They get mad about your stupidity when you're fearing rejection. Look at the fear and go like, that fear is ridiculous. It's stupid. There's nothing to be afraid of. You're going to get strikes. You're going to get rejected. But when it happens, it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to, there's no threat. There's no danger to you. The world's not going to look at you and judge you. The world's not going to notice you. They're not even going to know you're alive. They're not thinking about you. You don't matter to them. But you better start mattering to you. And you want to win? Then you got to look at that and go like, fear, get the hell out of my life. And you got to get angry at your fear and turn that fear into anger and attack. And use that to get you off your butt and into action. My friend, anger is not your problem. Anger is your solution. Now you take somebody that doesn't know how to control their anger. It's like, just do what you feel like doing. Just do what you feel like doing and go with your feelings. And there's a lot of that teaching out there that teaching especially guys, men, like don't be in control of your emotions. Like it's okay. Men need to cry. Learn to cry and learn to get into your feelings. And guys, somebody that learns that somebody that follows their feelings and just goes with it without any self-control, without any judgment, wisdom, that's how you get school shootings. Okay, that's how you get violence in society, is when people don't control their emotions. But the answer to it is not suppressing the emotion. It's taking the emotion and learning from it and channeling it and directing it and using the energy from it to go fix a problem. But we don't know how to do that. And so guess what? Our children don't know how to do that. They don't learn to do it because they can't learn it from us because we suppress everything. We won't tell the truth when there's something not right. Instead of telling the truth about it and addressing it and confronting it and fixing it, we suppress it, we deny it, we ignore it, which is all bullshit. And so right before the Bible says, don't let the sun go down in your anger, it says, stop lying and start telling the truth to each other. And so that's something that probably would be good for you. So stop lying to myself about, okay, it's okay, I'll do better tomorrow. And you're like, no, it's not okay. You didn't finish your work today, don't go to bed, finish your work. Do what you said you were gonna do, keep your commitments. Oh, you're upset at somebody? Then don't go to bed on your anger and don't let the anger go because the anger is not the problem. The problem is you need to have a conversation with somebody and you're not having it. So go, pick up the phone, pick up your phone, make a phone call, send a text message, send them an email, do something to address the problem. And the solution is not to attack them. The solution is to fix the problem. Now, you may need to attack, you may need to confront. But the key is you got to do something to fix it or it never gets fixed. And then you just suppress the anger, you let the anger go, and then tomorrow it's like, that's all right, but the problem's still there and the problem's not going to go away and the problem's going to get worse and it's going to get worse and it's going to get worse and you're going to lose. That's what's happened to me many times in my life because I never knew how to deal with anger. Okay, yeah, I get it. Somebody said, thank you for this. I was in a losing battle with myself. Why? Because you wouldn't stand up to yourself. You wouldn't stand up to your bullshit. Wouldn't stand up to your fears. Wouldn't stand up to your irresponsibility. I just need to be more consistent. No, you need to be more responsible. You need to grow up and do what's right. You need to keep your commitments. And when you're not, you need to get angry about it, at yourself, and do something about it. Not beat yourself up. Beating yourself up is not the solution. Kicking your butt into gear, that's the solution. But what people do is they beat themselves up, and so now they just feel depressed, and they feel like a loser, and they feel, helplessness and hopelessness, and all of that, guys, that's all the path to losing. Anger. To get off your butt and wake up and realize, no, you're not a loser. Go do your shit. Do that. Take action. You got this, guys. This will fix your relationships. It'll fix your marriages. It'll fix your problems with the kids. And it will change our society if people would start standing up, especially people who call themselves Christians, start standing up for what they believe and actually stand up for it. And now I go, I know, but I just want to go along to get along. But the problem is the things that are happening are destroying our civilization. How about you stand up? How about you say something? Yeah, but what if I get canceled? What? Excuse me? Even the fact that you fear that, but I get it because that's how I've lived. I live my life like I don't want to upset people. I don't want people to judge me. I don't want to take a chance of this. Sometime, somewhere, you got to stand up. And yes, is there sometimes risk? Yeah, you're going to be criticized. You're going to be judged. People go, what happened to you? I don't like I like the old you better. But the old you was, because here's why, because the old you didn't stand for anything. The old you was weak, non-confrontational, and could be completely disregarded, and you didn't make anybody else uncomfortable. But if comfort's what you're seeking, you're going to lose. And everything's going to collapse. It's going to collapse in your personal life. It's going to collapse in your finances. It's going to collapse in your business. Wake up. Wake up, get angry, and go do something about it. So there you go, my friends. You got to take that anger and you got to embrace it and you got to use it to fix the things that are wrong in your world and in your life. All right, guys, have a great day. Play to win. Always expect yes, and I'll see you on the trail.